So let's now also register routes that allow us to update or delete an event. And for that, here in that routes.go file, we can start with the update route by using this put function or this put method on this server struct here to define a path to which put requests can be sent to update an event. And put is a commonly used HTTP method for update requests. That's why I'm using it here. Now the path should be /events, but then again, one specific event that should be updated. So we need that dynamic path parameter. And then we need a function that handles this request here in the events.go file in the routes folder. There at the bottom, for example, we can add a new function that can be called update event and that needs to get this gin context here as a value. And just as before, I'll make sure that we get a pointer to that context so that we work on that one single context object that was created by gin and that, for example, must be used in order to send back a response to the originally received request. So here in update event, we now have a couple of things to do. First, we have to extract that received parameter from that path. And for that, we can copy the logic from getEvent, because it's exactly the same. We want to get that event ID that was part of the path. Thereafter, as a next step, I want to fetch the event that has that ID from my database. And we can do that through the models package and then getEvent by ID. Now this will give me the event or an error. And of course, I want to check if we have an error, if it's not nil, in which case I want to send back an error response. So I'll copy this code here and I'll send back this internal server error code because I don't know exactly what went wrong, but I know that we could not fetch the event. So that we did not get an event for that ID, either because the ID was incorrect or maybe because we had some technical problem with the database. After this if check, we know that we have an event with that ID, and we can therefore now update it. And to do that, I'll create a new variable, updated event, which will be of type event from my models package. And I actually don't need that event from up here right now. I will need it later, but at the moment I don't. So we can remove this here. And since error already exists, we should now use the normal assignment operator here. And therefore we can use this underscore to make it clear that we're not interested in that. And now that we're not using that, and we're instead using that special underscore identifier, and error already exists, we should use the normal assignment operator here. But that's it for this line of code. Now we can create a new updated event and now populate that event from the data that was attached to the incoming request. Because for this update request, for this put request, I do again expect some data to be attached to that request. Some data to be in the request body, just as it was the case for this post request. So we can use the same logic as for the post request here in create event. There we used this shouldBindJSON method here, and therefore I'll use it here as well. I'll copy this line from create event and populate my updated event with shouldBindJSON. Now error already exists, so we need the regular assignment operator, and we can now check if something went wrong here. And if something did go wrong here, I want to send back an error. Just as before, when we created an event, I want to send back such a status bad request response because some invalid data was submitted by the user, by the client. So I will also keep this error message. But after this step, we will have a new event value with that data from the received request, and we want to write that back into the database.